Good afternoon. This is Dr. Kibet. Uh, Once more, as I had notified you earlier, we are going to have our usual Friday training, which happens every time at 3, coming to you from Vital Animal Health. As you can be able to remember, the topic for today is actually about calf management, and we are going to be talking about um, the importance of early nutrition and better calf management for purposes of ensuring that we have a better production in future. So it's important for us to note that a better calf management is actually very key so that we can have a highly productive cow in future. I know most of the times many people do ignore the calf. We don't realize that how we manage them in the early stages is going to really affect the future productivity. So this is why really early calf care and nutrition is very important for future milk production, and I'm going to be discussing that today. And I think to introduce the topic today, I think there will be a few things which I will be making you to note, so that when you are paying attention to your calf, you should be able to know that it's a very critical management aspect. So it all starts with some good records, and I think it's very important for you as a farmer to be able to prepare yourself for your calf which is coming. And I think a better way to ensure that you do not forget is to remember that in about 2 years, that is about 24 or 25 months later after the calf is born, that calf is actually going to be a milking cow. So it's important for you to have good records so that you can do good preparations long before your calf is born. And the first thing which I expect you to pay attention to is, when is your calf going to be born? So you need to have good records. You need to really have an estimation as to when your cow is going to be calving down, so that you can prepare yourself. And what I mean by preparation is, I'm looking at first your cow which is about to give birth. It's important for you to note and identify a place where it's going to be calving down. The reason why that is very important is we need the calf to be able to be born in an area where it's very clean, very good hygiene, where there is a lot of space and there is no contamination from maybe other animals which may come in. Cows are also, which are about to give birth by natural instinct, are really very careful. So you want to have an area which is far away from disturbances. You need an area where people are going to be staying far away apart from you as the farmer, so that your cow is not going to be scared of maybe other animals or people, or even your pets like dogs, because you can be very sure that if a dog is going to pass around where your cow is calving down, the cow is not going to be very comfortable, and that can really bring problems. You can imagine if the cow is halfway to calve down and then a dog passes around, which the cow by nature knows that that's a predator and it can be able to eat its calf. That is so much about where your cow is going to be calving down. The second part, which is very key, is where will your calf be living. So it's important for you to consider the housing of your calf and prepare it long before even your calf is born. So it's important for you to identify a place, make a very good house with sufficient space. You also want to consider a very comfortable house which is easy to drain, where the calf is going to have space to lie down, where the calf is going to also have space to rise up and be able to reach out and have its water together with the food. So you're talking about a house which is actually well prepared. and protected from wind or direct or what we call drought, where I mean if you are standing in a place where the calf should be, if wind is blowing, it should not actually be able to eat your calf directly, because that can be able to lead to problems. When you're considering the house of the calf, critical is you need also to have a place where your calf is going to be in a position to take its water independent of the feed, so that you minimize contamination. It's also important for you to remember some of these aspects. We usually talk about the five freedoms of pasture. So your calf should actually be able to achieve that. That is fresh air. It should be able to lie down nicely. There should be adequate light. You should be able to provide adequate water and feed, so that your calf can be able to grow quite well. So when you consider all those, you should be able to really have an idea about a very good place where your calf should be able to live nicely and be able to feed nicely, so that it can be able to grow. And something which is very critical is how you take care of your calf in the first 24 hours has actually been known to be very critical in the performance of your cow. What you are going to be doing in the first 24 hours is actually very important for your calf. So that's why I'm saying you should be able to be very well prepared long before even your calf arrives. And if you are well prepared and you are a good farmer, what I would love to say is, now we should be able to wait for the calf. So we know when the cow is going to be calving down. We know when and now cows which are about to calve down are going to behave, so that as a farmer you can be able to hang around and be able to watch your cow giving birth actually, so that in case your animal is going to develop any complications, you are around to be able to take care of that, and if possible even you can be able to call a vet. So that is very important. So having talked about preparations, now I'm going to talk about the time of calving. So when your calf is calving down and the calf has already been born, it is very important that you allow your cow to lick the calf. What I mean by that is that natural thing which you see cows doing on their calves is actually very important, because when the cow is licking the calf, it's allowing a better blood circulation to happen on the skin and the rest of the body of the calf, so that it can be able to get some good strength, and when it gets some good strength to even stand and all that. And in the event that you do not see your cow licking the calf, then you should be able to do something as a farmer. Maybe you can get a warm towel and be able to rub it off, so that you can, because the cow is literally trying to dry the calf and enabling some free air circulation. So you should be able to mimic that by trying to maybe cover it with a towel and do anything necessary, so that your calf is actually going to feel as natural as possible. Then the second thing which is very critical, and I think it has more to do also with where your calf is going to be born, is ensuring that your calf, which we know is born without any immunity, is going to be taken care of, so that it's not exposed to disease causing organisms. So one entry point which we know microorganisms can be able to get in and make your calf to be sick is the navel. So we need a very clean environment, so that you do not have the contamination of the navel. And the other thing is you should be able to disinfect the umbilicus immediately after calving. And a very good product is actually iodine. So you want to infuse some of it and also be able to dip that navel into a disinfectant, so that it's not going to be infected. And I can tell you for sure that if you are careless about that, after some time you will see some swelling on the umbilicus, and you will get what we call navel heel, which may really complicate the life of your calf. And in extreme cases, you can have some of those bacteria actually moving up, and they can be able to lodge in the liver and all that, and your calf can die much earlier than you expected. And given that this is your very good investment which you've done as a farmer, you don't actually want to lose your calf, so you want to take care of that. Secondly, I know a number of you have been able to see calves which have swollen joints, what we call, when you see after some time, maybe you have your joint heel, the joints of your calves are actually swollen. Maybe you see the fetlock joints, maybe uh, the knees and all that. You should be able to correct that. And when you disinfect, you're not going to get that. The other thing which I want you to do at that time is to remember that your calf is born without immunity, and the only way your calf is going to attain immunity is by feeding her adequate colostrum. So I'm going to have a discussion about colostrum feeding so that we can be able to do it right. And the first thing which we need to consider is how soon are you supposed to give colostrum to your calf. And what we mean by how soon is by virtue of the fact that the absorption of immunoglobulins from the gut of the calf is actually limited by time. So if you are going to have a delay, you are going to get what we call gut closure. So the absorption of immunoglobulins from the gut is going to diminish as time progresses from the time of birth. So the timing is actually very critical. So you need to ensure that as soon as your calf has risen up and it's standing, then you should be able to milk your cow at that point. Of course, issues of hygiene are very critical. So the udder should be very clean, the teeth should be very clean, so that you can be able to ensure that you are delivering very hygienic colostrum. So when you are milking out, it should be able to go into a very clean bottle, which according to me is the preferred way. I prefer calves to be force-fed colostrum instead of allowing the calf to suckle, because one, you will be able to know the amount which your calf is able to take, and two, you also know about how clean your bottle and maybe the nipple is going to be. So but if the calf is suckling direct from the mother, it can suckle and take in some microbial or disease causing bacteria from the udder, and that can put a lot of problems to your calf. Secondly, given that quantity is very key, you may not be able to know how much your calf was able to suckle. So it's very important for you to actually ensure that you milk your cow as soon as possible and be able to force feed your calf with colostrum when it's standing. Another very critical thing which is very important is, apart from the time when you are giving colostrum, the quantity is also very key. So it's important for you to feed your calf about 2 liters of that colostrum immediately after calving. That is when immediately after standing. And then within the next 12 hours, you should be able to feed her again another 2 liters. And by the time 24 hours are elapsing, on a minimum, you should have been able to feed your calf another 2 liters. That makes almost 6 liters. If you can be able to feed more, if you have time, then that is going to be better. As I have said, if you are going to have a delay on the time when you are going to be delivering your colostrum to your calf, that is going to affect the performance of it's going to affect the absorption of the immunoglobulins from the colostrum. So it's actually very important for you to ensure that you feed yourself the colostrum to your calf, and you do the right timing and be able to watch the quality. For those who have access to what we call a colostrometer, it's important for you to ensure that the quality of your colostrum is good, because if the density of your colostrum is very low, it means that the amount of immunoglobulins are actually too low, and that will mean that the amount of immunoglobulins which are going to get into your calf are very low, and therefore the immunity of your calf is not going to be attained very well. The other issue is you may not be able to have sufficient immunity to take the calf through the early stages of life. So it's very important to actually get very good colostrum from your cow, and the best way to get that is by ensuring that you do very good dry cow management. Cows which maybe gave birth and had a very short dry period will have very poor colostrum, and so it is very important for you to also do some good dry cow management. And those of you who've been following our page should be able to remember that in the past we talked about um, good dry cow management. One, to ensure that your colostrum is actually going to be of good quality. So we've talked about the amount which you need to give. We've talked about the time when it's critical for you to feed colostrum, and we've also talked about the importance of colostrum to your calf, in that it is the only source of immunity to your calf. So calves are actually very different from humans, because human babies get the immunoglobulins from the mother through the umbilical cord, even when the calf is growing, when the baby is growing. But for cows, the calves can only attain immunity from the milk, from the first milk, that is colostrum. So if you are not going to feed your calf with good amounts of colostrum at the right time and at the right quality, then you expect your calf to really have a lot of issues. So I'm going to briefly maybe give you examples of the things which are going to happen to your calf if you do not feed colostrum. And a very common one which most farmers have been able to see is calves developing diarrhea very early in life. So it means that the immunity is very low, and therefore the calf is going to come down with diarrhea. So in the first few weeks, you are going to see your calf is having challenges with diarrhea, and if you are not able to manage that diarrhea, you can actually lose your calf. Secondly, those calves which survive will develop problems with in their lungs. You're going to have them commonly having challenges with respiratory issues. And I know many farmers, when you see them, they are telling you, unajua labda ni baridi ilipata ng'ombe, ilipata njao yangu, ndio maana ikapata pneumonia. But I can tell you for free that if getting pneumonia is actually a problem which may develop because you didn't give your calf sufficient good quality colostrum. So once that is done, you've been able to feed quality colostrum on the right time, then of course you want to move your calf to its housing. And as I said, the house is supposed to be very good. The other thing which is important for me to remind you is you're not supposed to keep many calves in the same pen. Actually, each calf should be able to stay on its own, and it should not actually be able to interact with the rest, so that it does not get challenges coming from sharing infections from the ones which they stay with. And it's important for you to note that if calves which are being fed good amounts of colostrum are actually going to perform much better than calves which didn't get sufficient amount of colostrum, and it can translate to many liters of milk which you are going to lose when this calf gets to the time when it's going to be milking. So colostrum is actually very important. The other issue which is very important for you is once you move the calf to where it's staying, then you also need to start providing water to your calf. Water is actually very important. It's going to keep your calf rehydrated, and we know the importance of water in the body. If we do not have sufficient water, then the survival of your calf is going to be affected. So you want to start providing water on that first day on a bucket meant for water. So you are not going to be mixing around issues here. Many farmers, I know, they don't feed water to their calves with the belief that if you give water to your calf, then your calf is going to develop issues. And I think I'm going to be addressing that maybe when we come to when I will be discussing issues on rumen development and weaning, I think in the next week. So I'm not going to really dwell on that, but it's important that your calf is able to get water so that it can stay healthy. And you want to introduce that water early enough. When the calf gets to the house, you want to have your water there. You can provide that water uh, by limiting the amount. Maybe you can give about 2 liters, or you can also fill your bucket, because at that time the calf has not actually learned how to take water. So I expect that if the water is available, within the first 2 weeks the calf will be able to learn that this is water and I need to have it as part of my diet. The other thing which is very critical as well during this time is to be able to introduce the calf starter to your calf. So you need to ensure that calf starter is available in the first few days after calving. Actually, our recommendation as Vital Animal Health is from the third day there should be a few kilos or a few amount of pellets in a bucket which is meant actually for calf pellets, so that your calf can be able to learn how to take pellets, because that is very important for rumen development, and we are going to be discussing next week as to the importance of calf starter in starting off rumen development. And many people are going to be wondering, how do I make my calf take calf starter pellets? And what I usually recommend is, if you put the calf pellets on the bucket and maybe put in some little amount of molasses, calves are very curious after calving, and when they go looking around and getting curious to find out what is in their environment, if their muzzle is going to touch dirty things like molasses, they will try to lick their muzzle clean, and when they do that, they've already been able to have some sugars getting into their rumens, and that is the start of rumen development. And once they learn there is something sweet in the bucket, then they will be able to eat a few pellets here and there, and before you know, by the time you eat the second week, they will actually be feeding on those pellets. So guys and farmers and everyone who is taking care of calves, managing those calves in its early life is actually very critical, and we want to achieve very good growth rates of our calves, and so we want to ensure that we feed them what they require. So of course I expect you to feed the first milk to your calf in the first weeks, because colostrum will be coming out of your calf maybe for the next 4 or 5 days. So I expect you to not only feed colostrum in the first day, but also continue feeding, because colostrum does not just have immunoglobulins, but we know it to be highly packed with other nutrients such as protein. There is a lot of vitamins, there are a lot of mineral elements which actually come from colostrum, so it's important for you to continue feeding them colostrum until the time when you've run out of colostrum. Another issue which is very important for me to note concerning colostrum is the quality of colostrum as time goes by. So you want to milk your cow as soon as possible when the colostrum is still highly concentrated with immunoglobulins. If you are going to wait, then the udder is going to produce much more milk, and it's going to dilute the amount of immunoglobulins in that milk. So it's very critical for you to milk and get the first colostrum which comes out of your cow to be what you are going to be feeding your calf. So the extra ones, you may be able to store them as long as you milk it. You get out that colostrum from the cow in very hygienic circumstances, so that you do not have colostrum which is contaminated with dirt and a lot of bacteria. Because if you are not going to clean up the udder and clean up the teats and milk out that colostrum in hygienic conditions, the colostrum which you are going to be feeding many hours later may turn from being colostrum into what we call bacterial soup. So what I mean by that is, of course, if bacteria are multiplying, they are going to be producing a lot of toxins. And who knows, colostrum is actually packed with very good nutrients for bacteria. So the number of colony forming units of very bad bacteria may be so much, and that can affect the ability of your calf to survive, because it can be another way of making them to come down sick. So it's very critical for you to ensure that you provide good quality colostrum. So on aspects I already talked about, that if you wait to milk your cow later, then immunoglobulins are going to get diluted. The second one is milking, subsequent milkings which happen after the first milking have low that milk is going to have low concentrations of immunoglobulins. So milk actually which you get from your cow at the first milking is better to be a source of colostrum to your calf than the ones which you are going to get after maybe the second milking or the third, because there is the dilution factor. So you expect that the immunoglobulin levels are going to reduce as time progresses from the time when your cow has calved down. So milk the first colostrum for your cow, feed 2 liters, store the extra ones so that you can be able to have the 2 liters which you will need within the first 12 hours, and also the 2 liters which I talked about which you need to feed before 12 hours elapses. So that is very critical. So I'm really insisting so much about colostrum here. So once the time when you feed colostrum is going to be over, of course, the time when you need to start feeding milk to your cow is going to come. So it's also important for me to tell you how you're going to be feeding your milk. Other people, of course, feed calf milk replacer to their calves, but I want to tell you that when you are feeding them in the first 10 days, I want you to feed about 1.5 liters of milk to your calf 3 times a day. So if you are milking 3 times, it's good for you. Right after milking, you should be able to take milk to your calf, and I want you to feed about 1.5 liters 3 times a day. If from 2 weeks to 7 weeks is when you increase the amount of milk which your calf is taking, and you will be feeding anything between 2.5 to 3 liters, maybe twice a day. If you have time, the more times you feed your milk to your calf, the better. So that's not actually very limited. I already talked about why you need to feed calf starter, and you want to start in the first week. So, and you realize that maybe several weeks after feeding the milk, you want your calf to take in more calf starter, which is actually the solid feed. And for you to achieve that, if you want to limit the amount of milk which your calf is going to be feeding on, maybe from maybe around 6 weeks going forward. So if maybe after around 7 weeks you can be able to limit the amount of milk which your calf is taking to maybe 2 liters twice a day, so that your calf can feel it needs to eat other food. And you realize that when you do that, it's going to feel the rumen is empty, and it will want to eat more calf starter pellets, which is going to drive the growth rate of your calf much faster than just feeding more milk. Because if you feed more milk after that time, the calf is going to feel that it's satisfied, the stomach is full, and when that happens, it's not going to take in more calf starter. And you know, milk is actually very low on dry matter content. So, and the best way to drive more nutrients into your calf is by providing solid food, which is actually going to be coming from the calf starter pellets. I talked about the importance of why you need to give milk separately from the water, and I think what is very important for us to note is when you are feeding your calf with milk, and you are using the same bucket of milk to give water, the calf can be able to confuse the milk for water, and it will be able to take too much water. And when a young calf takes too much water, then the cells, the red blood cells, are not able to endure that pressure which is going to be forming, and as a result of that, you will see that your calf is going to be urinating red. So, but when you make your calf to be taking water from its water bucket, then it knows this is water, and it's able to limit the amount it is going to be taking. So let's not confuse our calves when it comes to feeding water. So I think I've been able to speak so much about the early stages of feeding your calf, And next week I should be able to talk about uh, the best way of now feeding calf starter, enabling that calf to have a better developed rumen, seeing how that is going to impact on the 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 growth rate, that is the daily weight gains of your calf, and how that is going to impact on milk production, because we are going to be talking about the impact of that on other development, as well as increasing the capacity of your calf by the time it's calving down. I am able to see quite a number of questions have been able to come through, and I think I will, as usual, I'm going to start with questions which people have been sending through to our page, and also sending via SMS. And I'm going to address some of those questions which talk about calves. And there is a guy called Jamle Kingori, who is coming from Nyeri, and he is asking what could be the issue with his calves which do not seem to grow fast enough pot bellies. Jamlek, if you would be patient to listen to me next week, I should be able to address that, because I will be talking about calves, especially after weaning, which are not able to get sufficient protein coming from milk, and they are not being fed a good calf starter. So if you are not feeding calf starter pellets to your calf, then you expect that the level of protein in your calf is going to be very low, and that will affect the amount of albumin in the blood, and then you are going to have pot belly. So pot belly is actually a sign of protein deficiency, and it could result from many things, but first is actually nutrition. Wairimu from Larry is asking, when do I introduce calf pellets and Viton Dama to my calves, and why should they be given? So number one, it's good, I like the question, because it's reminding me that in the first week you want to introduce calf starter, and you also want to give Viton Dama to your calf, because the milk which you are feeding to your calf is not actually having sufficient levels of minerals. And so if you feed maybe calf starter and you're going to put some Viton Dama on that, then the calf is able to get minerals. Of course, calf starter, the reason why we call it calf starter pellets is because it starts off rumen development. The starches which are actually in the calf starter are going to be broken down by bacteria in the rumen to volatile fatty acids, which stimulate the development of what we call rumen papillae. I'm going to be dealing with that next week, and that will mean that you are going to have an increased surface area for absorption of nutrients, which drive the growth rates of your calves. So it's important for you to feed calf starter, and I'm going to be elaborating on that in my next discussion next week. Martin Osiru in Nyamira is asking, how do I ensure my calf transition well from milk to solid fodder during weaning? And I think Martin Osiru, tune in next week, and I will be able to address that, because we will be talking about how to transition from liquid diet, which is milk, to actually a solid diet, which by weaning them. So we will be able to deal with that next week, and I will just tune in and you will be able to learn so much about that. Mary Wairim from Gilgil is saying, my calves were born, they were looking very well, they were having a very black and shiny haircut, but now they look brown and rough. What could be the issue? I have tried deworming them with no success. And those people who remember, maybe I think the second discussion which we had about copper deficiency, we were able to show that when your calves are not getting Viton Dama, for example, and of course calf starter, then they are going to suffer from copper deficiency, and the rough brown haircuts is actually copper deficiency. So you should be able to buy Viton Dama and mix it with calf starter pellets, and when you do that, you should be able to see a reverse on the signs. So it's not actually worms, and the only way to confirm that is by telling your vet to collect some fecal samples and deliver them to the nearest lab, and they can be able to check whether there are worms coming from, I mean, in the feces of your calf. So, but commonly, uh, it's mineral deficiency and energy deficiency. Um, Johnson Magana in Karatina is asking, how do I teach my 2 weeks old calf to lick Viton Dama? And I touched on starting to feed calf starter pellets to your calf, and I said that one way is to make use of the curiosity which we see with calves by putting calf starter, sprinkling a bit of Viton Dama on that feed in the first week, and when you do that, then put some little molasses. Then the calf, out of curiosity, will try to lick around, and when the muzzle of the calf gets dirty, it will try to lick it off, and that way it will be able to test the minerals and be able to test the pellets and learn how to take them. So that is what I expect you to actually do, so that you can be able to train your calf to take more calf starter. I think I've been able to address that question. So you should be able to do that. So giving minerals to your calf is actually very important, and I want you to start giving minerals from the time when you are providing calf starter as well. So guys, in summary, I think we need to remember that colostrum is very important because it is the only source of immunoglobulins which will help your calf not to come down with the diseases in the early stages of life. So it's actually the first insurance on your calf's health. The only way to avoid infections and diseases on your calves is by ensuring that you give good quality and sufficient amounts of colostrum within the first 24 hours, and the earlier you give them, the better, because more immunoglobulins are going to be absorbed. It's important for you to also give water to your calf because it needs that so that it can have a wet rumen. And one thing which I want to make it clear, and I think I'll be talking about next week, is what actually goes to the rumen. But when the calf is taking milk, that milk is going to go to the abomasum, and there is what we call there is a reflex there which we call esophageal groove reflex. So when the calf tastes milk, that milk will actually be shunted, and it is not going to go into the rumen. It will go directly to the abomasum. So, and that is why when you are feeding milk to your calf, it's important for you to have them to have the bucket raised so that the esophageal groove can be able to form. So we have been able to learn something about how to feed your calf in the early stages, how to provide colostrum and introduce water, and also give calf starter. So next week, join me as we talk about rumen development and also transitioning calves to weaning. And then after that, I think we will be able to have one more topic concerning calves before we move to post-weaning management. So keep on tuning in to Vital Animal Health page. Keep on inviting your friends so that they can be able to learn something. And I am very grateful for those who've been able to join me today in our discussion. And I think, having said all that, we come to the end of our discussion today. So I want to wish you a very good weekend. See you next week at 3 p.m. On Friday.